Right, we continue our series on talking about Stoicism, going through the Enchiridion in the translation How to Be Free by Professor A.A. Long. And today we have a long chapter, but a very fun one. Some good stuff in here. Draw up right now a definite character and identity for yourself, one that you intend to stick to, whether you are by yourself or in company. Now, what follows here is a long list of things you should and should not do. Okay? Stay mainly silent or keep your conversation to the necessary minimum. On rare occasions, though, when the situation calls for it, engage in talk, but not about trite topics like gladiators or horse races or athletes or food or drink. The things that come up all the time, and above all, don't talk critically or flatteringly or judgmentally about people. By your own conversation, if you can, guide your friend's talk in a fitting direction, but if you find yourself all alone among strangers, stay silent. Don't laugh much or often and keep it down. Refuse completely to take an oath, or if that is out of the question, refuse to the extent that you can. Excuse yourself from attending dinner parties given by people outside your circle. I particularly enjoy this, the people outside your circle. Idiote. Idiots. But strictly speaking, that means ordinary people. Okay? But yeah, it's just funny. Okay, excuse yourself from attending dinner parties given by people outside your circle, but if you have to, be very careful not to slip into their ways. A companion's crudeness is bound to rub off on the one he is with, no matter how refined that person may be. In things to do with the body, food, drink, clothes, housing and servants, take only what you need and cut out everything that is for show or luxury. As for sex, abstain as far as possible before marriage, and if you do go in for it, going in, that's an interesting turn of phrase, do nothing that is socially unacceptable, but don't interfere with other people on account of their sex lives or criticize them, and don't broadcast your own abstinence. There goes your hopes and dreams of becoming the world's first stoic porn star. But anyway, if you are told that someone is talking badly of you, don't defend yourself against the story, but reply, obviously he didn't know my other faults, or he would have mentioned them as well. There's no need for you to put in much of an appearance at the public games, but if the occasion arises, don't let people see you supporting anyone's side except your own. I mean, you should want the result to be exactly what it is, and for the winner to be exactly the one who wins. In this way, you won't be disappointed. Restrain yourself completely from shouting or laughing at anyone or getting strongly involved. After coming away, confine your account of the events to the experiences that bear on your own improvement. Otherwise, people will think that you were impressed by the spectacle. Don't show up casually or thoughtlessly at public lectures, but when you do go, behave decently and seriously and without causing offense. Whenever you are going to meet anyone, especially someone thought to be important, ask yourself what Socrates or Zeno would have done in this case, and then you will have no difficulty in handling the situation appropriately. And when you call on some high official, imagine that you will not find him at home, and you will be shut out, that the door will be slammed in your face, and that he will ignore you. But if, in spite of all this, you really have to go, accept it, and go without ever telling yourself it was not worth all that. That's what an ordinary person would do, someone upset by mere circumstances. In company, don't go on at length about your deeds or adventures. It may be pleasant for you to recount them, but others are less eager to hear about what has happened to you, and don't try to be funny. It's behavior that easily lapses into vulgarity, and it is also liable to make your neighbors think less well of you. Be warned too against encouraging lewd conversation. If and when anything of the sort happens, chide the person who has started it, if you can find the right moment, and if not, show your dislike of the talk by staying silent, blushing and frowning. Beautiful. Become the most boring person on earth, right? That's what we're trying to do here. Now, I don't want to make light of Epictetus. I understand what he's trying to say, right? We all understand what he's trying to say. Be a sincere person, right? Be serious. Take things seriously. And this reminds me of the parallel, I think, or this reminds me, I should say, of a passage in the Hagakure. I think I've quoted that before, but a manual for samurai, where it said, among the maxims on Lord Naoshida's wall was the following: matters of great concern should be taken lightly. And then it says, Master Ite commented, matters of small concern should be taken seriously. And I think that kind of sums it up. Now we can go over each and every line of these things, but it's pretty self-explanatory, right? What Epictetus is trying to make us do is be rather austere, and I think the most important thing to take away from this is not to never laugh. That's kind of silly, and that also kind of affirms the stereotype of Stoics as emotionless people, which we've talked about before. Stoicism is not about extirpating your emotions. That's not what Stoicism was about. What he's trying to get at is don't make a fool of yourself. Well, that makes sense. And I think that many of us will have been in a situation where we tried to say something and we meant it as a joke and it was taken the wrong way, or you say and you think, oh, I shouldn't have said that, that was actually a bit painful, or whatever. But that happens. The thing is, that happens. You cannot stop that from ever happening again. Just be mindful of what you're doing. Don't go around sort of offending all kinds of people just because you think it's funny, because that's not funny, right? Don't go around being, for lack of a better word, a pompous dick online. There are many of those. I deal with them on a daily basis. And that's unnecessary. You don't have to do that. Even if you know best, if you know better than someone else, like me, that's possible, right? It's possible, unlikely, but possible. Then by all means, I'm just kidding, okay? That was an example of a joke. By all means, you can enter a discussion, but it's kind of about how you do that. I've had really good discussions with people online who said, I actually think you may be wrong here, maybe this and that, and I look it up and they're right. There's also people who start off with, well, it's clear that you have absolutely no clue what you're talking about. Is that really necessary? Right, people can make mistakes, right? And I've never claimed to be an expert at everything. You can watch all my 1300 videos on fountain pens, and at no point will you hear me say I'm a fountain pen expert. Okay, so that's just one example. So again, be mindful of what you are doing. You can make a joke, you can say something, sometimes you can even say something that offends someone, but you just didn't mean it that way, it just came out that way, right? Then can you also apologize and say, I'm sorry, that did not come out the way I intended to, I apologize, right? And then typically there is no issue. In other words, matters of great concern should be taken lightly, but matters of light concern should be taken seriously. And if you understand that, and you understand the difference between the two, and you know when lightheartedness is called for and when gravity is called for, I think you're doing pretty well in life. Now, one thing that I absolutely love in this long chapter is this one. And that is one that I actually use. I won't say on a daily basis, fortunately, but I definitely use this one. If you are told that someone is talking badly of you, don't defend yourself against the story, but reply, obviously he didn't know my other faults, or he would have mentioned them as well. Well, ain't that truth? We're all flawed, right? None of us is perfect. So if someone talks badly of you, I think that is a great way to deal with insults. Well, if he really knew me, he would say a lot worse about me, right? And this is a fun way to deal with an insult like that. It kind of makes light of it, right? And that typically sort of disarms things a bit, diffuses things a bit. And as a result, people respond well. And often the person who insults you actually gets even angrier because it shows them that you're not really taking the insult seriously, which I think is a really good way to deal with insults. Beyond that, it's all about how you carry yourself, right? You can joke. When I teach classes on psychology, I joke around a lot, but that's because I genuinely believe, that keeps the mood a little lighthearted and keeps people attention there, because otherwise it's gone, right? Try talking to people for 3 hours straight on language, or on the brain. There's a lot to say about the brain, but something like the eye, right? I'm not an ophthalmologist, but I do have to teach about the eye because that's part of psychology as well, visual perception. Well, I find that a lot of fun, but a lot of students who study psychology kind of lean towards the social sciences. They don't want to learn about the eye. right? So then if you can make a joke that can really help and keep people's attention much more focused on you. But it's about how you do it, right? Because if your classes turn into a one-man show, then you're not really transferring information anymore, you're doing stand-up comedy, which is fun too, but it's not what you're looking for. So again, for me, that is a matters of great concern should be taken lightly. Matters of light concern should be taken seriously, right? And that's it. So by all means, read over the whole chapter and look at everything you can take out of this. I'm not trying to make light of it, and I'm not saying that there's no good information in here. There is. It's just that I don't think it's a good idea to become a humorless, sort of quiet person who never talks, because imagine that what I will say, that what I say may offend someone, or imagine that I should always be serious. No, you can try. Life will be horrid if you lose your sense of humor and you don't see the fun in things anymore, right? So that's one of the fun things about the Stoics. A lot of their humor, because there is such a thing as Stoic humor. Read the discourses by Epictetus. They're full of biting sarcasm and cynicism. So there is Stoic humor. It's just a little different from what you may be used to. So don't think that you have to be humorless. Don't think that if you want to follow this path of philosophy that you have to be dead serious and can never laugh at things. I disagree with that, right? Just be sensible. If you are making one crude joke after the next, if you're making obscene jokes in situations where that is really not appropriate, then obviously you're doing something wrong, right? So carry yourself properly, and that's all. Slow and steady wins the race. I think the professor should return, don't you think? Professor Dr. Tarquin Danglebury, maybe he should do a lesson on Stoicism. Now that would be something. I think he would be more of an Epicurean, don't you think so? He would be sipping wine and doing things. Anyway, I've taken up enough of your valuable time. I hope this is still useful. I hope you're still getting something out of it, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye.